Rebuilding of Paris. During a time of industrial change and cultural advancement, Paris became the new home for many people, which overcrowded the ancient districts and spread disease. The city, which had been untouched since the Middle Ages, was in dire need of reflecting the new modern ways and putting an end to the spreading medical epidemics. Besides, the tight confines of medieval Paris, with its chaotic and cramped structure, were hindering the city's potential for growth, which also increased the desire to transform it into a well-organized urban center. It was under these circumstances that modernist Napoleon III commissioned his perfect Baron George Eugene Haussmann to undertake one of the largest urban transformations since the burning of London in 1666. Haussmann molded the city into a geometric grid, with new streets running east and west, north and south, lined with rows of chestnut trees. He swept away and rebuilt large areas of medieval Paris, notably many inner-city slums, and widened numerous avenues. These sweeping changes made possible converting former narrow streets into wide boulevards. The new widened streets were important in improving public health and traffic engineering. At a time when the city was filled to the brim with people, disease was a large risk, so the widening of the streets relieved the cramped city and allowed for the people to get around more easily. It also allowed for an increase in height of the buildings, providing more room for the people of Paris to live and thrive in. The intersections between the great boulevards, on the other hand, required the creation of squares on the same scale. The works of Haussmann converted many great squares at crossing points across the whole city. Place des Etoiles, Place Léon Blum, Place de la République, and Place de l'Élysée. The next step in Haussmann's plan for the new Paris was to divide the city into arrondissements, or districts. This plan required the destruction of the old heterogeneous quarters in the city center, and the creation of larger new quarters implicitly divided the population by economic status. The original plan called for 12 districts, but in 1860, Paris annexed surrounding communities and was divided into 20 districts. The districts started inward, on the banks of the Seine, and sprawled outwards. With the division of the city into arrondissements came the need for a new water and sewer system. Aided by his chief engineer Eugene Belgrand, Haussmann developed and began construction in 1857 on a larger sewer system that could handle the large amounts of wastewaters coming from the growing city that would be funneled into the Seine downstream from Paris. Haussmann also included a separate human waste channel into the sewer system to meet the need that was necessitated by the growing popularity of water closets, particularly in the richer Parisian districts. Quite possibly one of the largest stages of the project, second only to the new roads, was the architecture. To accompany the new streets and provide visual unity to the entire city, Haussmann and his team of architects unified the apartment buildings throughout the city. Inspired by the Industrial Revolution, these new apartment buildings mimicked the products produced by the factories. Each item was the same and could be built quickly by those with only a small amount of knowledge of architecture or design. Most of central Paris as seen today, with its characteristic broad avenues and six-story buildings, is Haussmann's legacy. Not only did Haussmann unify the apartment buildings throughout the city, he and his team were also responsible for designing all of the municipal buildings throughout the city. From train stations to government offices, they built interactive neoclassical monuments that would stand proud in the city's squares and emphasize the importance of modernity. Most notable are the train stations, which linked Paris to the rest of France. They were an integral part in the rise of the Parisian population and also allowed not only the rich, but everyone to take day trips and explore the countryside surrounding the city. To many, the trains represented the new modern time, recognized around the world as one of the greatest products of industrialization.